Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach, and as always, I'm joined by Christian Garcia.
Yo, you just noticed a fly down. Maybe we get the zip noise.
Oh,
Nope.
let's see if I can get that in camera.
Took care of it.
OnlyFans coming soon.
Yeah, it's just a teaser.
just a teaser. Also, Christian brought his ugly new Gremlin doll.
It's amazing. I'm still trying to figure out a name. Please throw out names. The best one I came up with was Fuckboy. I don't know.
Yeah, fuck boy. Yeah, it's up there above us, if you can see on YouTube. It's disgusting, and I hate it. So
It's actual, like, almost movie grade. You just can't move the joints, but it's fucking great. Got it from the wifey. Thank you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I will say, for something I don't like, it is a very good quality. All righty. Right now, if you're watching on YouTube, please drop a like and a subscribe.
Or follow, whatever
Whatever
it is.
It's definitely, I think it's like and subscribe still on YouTube. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, do whatever is appropriate. I don't know what they're called anymore, but you can find out all of our social medias and whatnot at nerdswithfriendspodcast.com.
And shout out to the countries that listen to us. I don't remember which one.
I think Belgium was a big one. Ireland loves us. I think we had some from South Africa.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some good ones. Nerds with Friends is worldwide, and doesn't matter where you live in the world, you can help support the show by checking out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. There's lots of cool rewards on there, including one like today where we will actually be going over a topic suggested by one of our patrons. More on that later. But let's get down. Oh, I should say before we get into Nerdy Confessions too, there's a new podcast that we should represent. Our friends Crystal and Ashley started their new podcast called the Sourpuss Podcast.
Coming soon.
Nope. First episode's out right now.
Never mind.
I listened to it today.
Okay.
It's two of our friends who they used to be in the 3 for Tea podcast, which we had on in much earlier episodes. But now they've scaled up a little bit. They're not drinking tea anymore. They're drinking sour beers.
Nice.
Which is a little bit more fun, if you ask me. But their first episode's out wherever you get your podcasts. Very funny. They talked about Bridgerton and definitely spoiled some of Bridgerton for me. I had like 3 episodes left, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm not bitter. They also talk about the benefits of the pull-out method.
Oh, well, should have started with that.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So find out.
Especially what I want to know is how my friends fuck. That's what I want.
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
It was in regards to Bridgerton. There's a guy who was like the freaking pull-out king on that show.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should watch that show too. It's not very good. I mean, it's fine.
I haven't seen it. I don't even know what it's about. So
it's about old English people.
So it's like Downton Abbey.
Kind of.
No,
I think it's earlier. It's the Regent era or something like that, Regency era.
I have very little interest of
it's
how
like
the rich live.
It's like a romance thing. It's all fake, so it's not historically accurate at all. But yeah, this one guy is fucking pull-out games on point.
All right.
Yeah. So
maybe that. Just the highlights.
Check it out. Sourpuss Podcast, and they review it in full. Very funny.
We were promised to be guests later, so we'll see when.
Yeah, we'll see when that happens because we have some things to say. But if you do want to check out some of our tea too, you can pick up a bag of our tea at nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. It's made by Plum Deluxe. It is tasty, tasty. All right, let's do some nerdy confessions, Christian, where we confess things that make us nerds.
I'm going first?
Yeah.
Just finished another Stephen King book later.
Shocker.
It was great. It was great. It starts off really slow, picks up, and then it gets really good at the end. Mm-hmm. I do wish it was a little bit longer.
What's it called?
Later.
No, tell me right now, please.
Oh, haha. Ding! It was really, really good. I do wish it was a little bit longer. If you guys are fans of him tying books together, he does that with other things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it. Make sure and listen to it or read it. I do audiobooks. It was great. The narration was cool, too.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, we'll have to check that one out. My nerdy confession, Christian, is a bit of a homework assignment you gave me. I watched Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh, are we getting into it?
We're getting into it right now because the back half is going to be all Patreon related. So I watched this movie. You failed to tell me it was a Nicolas Cage joint. I would have been a little bit more skeptical.
What? No, I'm not gonna fucking give up the Nicky Cage, isn't it? All right, so let me start off with like a little backstory of how I think it started.
Okay.
So It's either Myanmar or another country. The movie doesn't give a shit.
No,
where
it was Burma, which used to be called. Didn't Burma used to be called Myanmar?
I don't know, but the movie did not give a fuck. They made that clear.
It doesn't matter.
So there's a bunch of monks chilling at their temple.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little hole with, for no reason, the comet comes over, alien comes through. They're probably like, holy shit, dude, you're over here with like this tech, so you're gonna show us some new tech stuff? Nah, fuck you, all right? I'm gonna come here to teach you fucking jujitsu.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm pretty sure our homies in Japan already invented that shit. They're like, fuck that, I invented that shit.
It's from space.
I was like,
deal with it.
They're like, all right, cool. Maybe, we do tribal fight every now and then. Probably good that we learn how to fight. Now, fuck that shit. I'm going to come here every 6 fucking years, and you better have 9 of you fucking monkeys ready to fucking fight me. I'm like, all right, you're going to come and test our skills?
Very, very aggressive.
Yeah. This alien's very aggressive. It's like, I get it. You want to test our skills, see how we're doing. Now, fuck that shit. I'm going to kill all fucking 9 of you.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little rough, but... I mean,
why do we want to do this? Well, if I don't kill all 9 of you, I'm gonna kill the entire world.
I'm gonna kill the whole fucking world. And they're like, all right, but seems fair enough. You taught us jujitsu, so it might be a fair fight. Now, fuck all that noise.
I'm gonna use swords and space technology.
Yeah. As soon as one of you fucking monkeys starts getting some good licks on me, I'm gonna fucking go fast like Quicksilver, or I'm gonna use my fucking scorpion burning hands, or I'm gonna use my fucking predator cloaking device. And I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, well, that doesn't seem fair at all.
Yeah. Why? What's the point of all this?
What's the point of all this? Fuck you. I'll be back in 6 years, motherfuckers.
Later, alien out.
Yeah.
And then he fucking bounces through the portal.
That's kind of the backstory of what I think happened. But that's pretty much the premise of the movie.
Yeah, so, that's pretty accurate, at least from what I gathered. I will say I lost interest about 20 minutes into it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I was like texting and watching YouTube videos on the side. But yeah, it's funny. So it starts off with this guy kind of running through the forest away from some unseen threat that's throwing these like razor boomerangs at him. And
who's very bad. He probably learned from stormtroopers. Like, he can't hit shit with those.
Right, exactly. Like throwing literally an unlimited amount of these fucking little spinny discs.
They're fidget spinners.
And the guy running away from him does not react to them at all. He's just kind of like, looking, and they're just like CG'd all around him. Oh man. And then he
gets hit twice. For whatever reason, they don't go through him, even though it went directly at him.
They bounce off of his back. They cut him in the back, but then he falls down, gets an incredible head wound on the rocks. He should have been dead.
Yes, for sure.
And then he gets rescued by an old Burmese man and randomly Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, well, Nicky Cage comes later. I mean,
he comes later, but he was on that boat and rescued him.
Oh, was he? I missed that part.
It was ridiculous because they never reference it again.
Nope.
Like, I was like, what the fuck? What's he doing there? He's just fishing with some old Burmese fishing guy.
Yeah.
And then he gets picked up by the army who's there looking for like plutonium in Burma.
Never really specified too much. They're just like, we're sent something here.
We're here for something secret. You must be here for it too. It's like, I really have no idea what
I don't remember shit.
Are you here for the plutonium? He's like, what plutonium? They're like, we know you're here for it. Yeah. It's like, oh God. It was just, so it seems to me like a movie that was probably created by a bunch of stunt, guys, martial art guys.
I think it was like some guys who fell into some money and they're like, yo, I watch a lot of action films. What we're going to do is we're going to make Mortal Kombat and fucking Predator, like combined. Match them together and we're going to make a movie.
Yeah.
Americans love that shit.
Yeah. And, I think it was probably created by some like stunt coordinator guys who like decided to try their hand at, they're like, making a full-on movie isn't that hard. And they found out it was very hard.
I will say, maybe you're right, because some of the fight scenes were good.
Some were terrible, though.
Some were terrible. But
okay, so we should talk about the cast, too. Tony Jaa's in it. The guy from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift is in it, too.
Yes. The villain.
The villain Asian dude. I forget his name was like Brian.
Who doesn't fight
Lee or something. Yeah, he doesn't fight at all, which seemed like a fucking waste. The guy's fucking jacked. He's who I want to play Namor. I think he would be a good Namor. Be good. And Nicolas Cage obviously is in it as well. And then Crabman from My Name is Earl is in it too.
Who was he?
He's the interpreter dude.
Oh, the terrible interpreter. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Crabman. That was funny. And then the chick from the 100 is in it too. The sister from that show.
Didn't watch 100.
100. Yeah.
Was she the nunchuck one?
No, she was the
Two axes.
the one interviewing him.
Oh,
Like
got it.
Army Intel.
I got a weird porno vibe from those two. Like I was like, they're definitely gonna fuck, and then
never did.
Never did.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna show me a shitty movie, there ought to be some titties in it. Yeah, I love how like it was so low budget that the Army people just have like off-green uniforms. That
No
say,
insignias. Like
they say Army, and hers says Army Intelligence.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not how that works.
there was just so many like terrible things about it. Like the same. They didn't even try. Like they used the same stunt people who got their asses kicked by
over and over.
But they didn't even bother to change their outfits.
No, it was the same guy in the hat with the black mask on.
Yeah,
like
and then there was
15 times.
And then there was one guy in with sunglasses who got hit in the face multiple times.
Sunglasses get knocked off all the time and then back on.
And
magically.
he's back on.
Yeah.
Like back on. And like that guy, like they killed him like 10 times in one fight. It wasn't even like in mixed scenes. It was weird. And then like they tried every camera thing they could do. They
did a little first person action.
Yeah, they did the Doom thing where like, you know, like the fists are coming through.
Where it looked like the guy had a GoPro or whatever on his chest, and he's following Tony Jaa, and Tony Jaa's just beating the shit out of people. And Tony Jaa is an incredible martial artist, and they made even some of his fights look shitty, which is crazy, and that's hard to do.
Well, I mean, I didn't see him do anything like Ong Bak, anything crazy.
No Muay Thai craziness. Yeah,
it's jiu-jitsu, bro.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know how to do this. It's not the same.
Apparently, jiu-jitsu in the movies, whatever they need it to be at the moment.
Right. Jiu-jitsu came from space. Everyone knows that. So it'd be like first person, he's running after Tony Jaa, and then all of a sudden it feels like the guy running literally puts the camera down.
Yeah.
And then you see him come out, and then he goes back, picks up the camera, and
it's back.
Like, what is the camera? Yeah. What are we doing here?
And then they did the shot where it's pointing at their faces and they're
it's
running.
It's like mounted in front of them, and so wherever they're looking it goes. They did a couple of those, special effects were terrible.
Not only that, but
there was not a single gun fired in that entire movie.
No, there's
people shaking the guns.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Like they just did the tracers, but like there was no recoil, and they're just like I guess they didn't know how recoil. Yeah, it was not like up like how a gun would go. It was just like shaking the gun.
Just shake it a little bit. We'll just put it in. Blood spurts and stuff were all added in post. They looked fucking awful.
Yeah, they were pretty bad.
And it's funny because like normally I don't care that much about certain special effects if it's a little like if it's not perfect, it doesn't really blow my mind. But like I've been watching a lot of that YouTube channel Corridor Digital. You ever watch them?
Is that a bunch of CG guys where they talk about it?
Yeah. Yes.
I saw the one that they did on Game of Thrones where I didn't notice where they pointed out a lot of the terrible physics, like when the dragon would take off. Like, look, there's no dust, there's no grass moving. Dude, with that kind of weight, it would create.
And they point out some things that I would not even notice, but I've watched that show enough where I notice every little thing, like how bad the freaking muzzle flashes of the guns were. They have like weird like Matrix style ripple effects through the air as the guy's running away from them. The blood splatter is just like these pre-rendered little effects that you just literally drag and drop with nothing else done to them.
Someone probably just did it on an app on their phone.
Yeah, exactly. It was freaking iMovie. It was so bad, man. The story, like I said, I stopped paying attention, but I think you gave a pretty good synopsis. And by the end, the good guy wins with the help of his friends. The power of friendship. So all the other 9 people, though, the other 8 people, all get murdered.
Yeah,
7 of them because
6. Tony Jaa made it.
Oh, Tony Jaa made it?
Yep.
Okay. And the short-haired Asian chick who's like his love interest, who never actually acknowledges ever.
At all.
Yeah. She's like, oh my God, I love you. He's like, okay, I don't know who you are. He has amnesia the entire movie.
I'm wondering if they wanted Nicky Cage to be that crazy, or if they were just like, no, we need you to kind of play straightforward. Got it. Extra crazy. Got it.
Got it. I'll be 100%. I'll be a crazy old Herman man who also knows jujitsu.
Like, and his lines when he's fighting what turns out to be his son, which didn't, like, whatever. I don't know why he didn't tell him, like, hey, I'm your dad.
Is that who? So he was his dad, right?
Yes.
Jake's dad?
Yep. So, like, when they're fighting in his little...
He just happens to be on the boat and rescuing him?
Yeah.
So stupid.
When they're fighting in his like fucking rabbit hole
Yeah.
or whatever, and like he jumps on the piano. He's like, "Ho ho, get off my piano!" It's like, the fuck kind of line is that? Who wrote that shit?
Yeah. Nobody. Nicolas Cage just thought of it.
He's like, "I can fly too." It's like, you jumped. What are you talking about?
Yeah, he did. There's so much weird shit. The interrogation scene between the chick from the 100 and the main guy Jake was so bad. Like scenes like that, you really have to have a feel for how dialogue works.
Yep.
And whoever wrote this, who was the same guy who directed it, produced it, and did everything else for it, doesn't really understand how to write that back and forth, because he made the Army intelligence chick just like, he's trying to make her like this badass bitch, and but like she doesn't have any reason to be. She's just yelling at people for no reason.
Yeah. Another thing is like, she went like, "You're fucking lying. You're a liar." And he's like, "We need to get out of here." And then she goes back to another guy's like,
He says we need to get out of here.
We gotta go.
Let's fucking bounce.
Like, you didn't believe shit he fucking said, and all of a sudden, like, now you're listening to him? Like, it just didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it was fucking terrible. The CG was bad throughout. The alien suit looked okay until you started seeing his face.
Which was a cross between, like, Darkseid and, like, Thanos or something. Like, they were trying to, like, make him look like... Only they're like, "Oh, shit, it looks too much like Darkseid. Give him 4 pupils." Like, and cleft lip. Again, just give him one of those.
And not only that, but it's like they did this thing where like he has a glass mask, kind of like Daft Punk, and you can kind of see his face underneath. But they so obviously just cut it and pasted his face on there through CG that it's like it's always at the wrong angle. It's, oh god.
I have another theory.
It looks like a TV monitor.
Yes.
It looks like a TV monitor that's playing a VHS tape from 1982.
So I have another theory that on his home planet, he's the worst fucking jujitsu fighter ever. And he got teased because of his cleft lip. He's like, "You know what? In order to feel better about myself, I'm going to go to this other planet.
He's going to fuck up Earth for
I'm
centuries.
just like murder these fucking monkeys so I can feel better about myself." That's why you shouldn't bully people.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what happens.
That's the message. So the movie's called Jujitsu. Please don't watch it. But
watch it and tell us what you fucking think.
If you have to, it's apparently on Netflix, or we rented it on Amazon.
It's on top 10 Netflix.
Well, we're in a bit of a dry spell right now, Christian. There's not a lot going on, so doesn't surprise me.
When I saw it, I was just looking. I was like, I need a new show to watch. I'm like, what the fuck? It's on here, and it's like top 10? Because I rented it on Amazon.
So you can watch it for free. I spent $4.
I did too. I thought I spent 2. Turns out I spent 4.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? But yeah, it's called Jujitsu, and don't ask Siri to find it for you because she doesn't know how Jujitsu's spelled.
Why we should?
Because I have an Apple TV, so I'm like Jujitsu movie, and it's like it finds this other anime called Jujutsu with all U's.
Yeah, it's like, that's probably what you meant. He doesn't want to watch that Nicolas Cage bullshit.
He doesn't want to watch that Nicolas Cage. Little did I know Siri was trying to save me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to fucking type it in. I was like, God damn it. But yeah, it was a piece of garbage.
It was pretty. And again, I like bad movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I like bad movies like when they're trying to do something serious and they're like, "Oh, it's bad, so bad that it's like you can laugh at it." This one is just like, nah.
My whole stance on bad movies is, as long as the person making it was doing everything in their power to make it good, and they were, maybe they didn't have all the money in the world or whatever, but they did everything they could to make it good. Which includes like writing. Writing takes $0. You know what I mean?
Well, you gotta pay the writer.
Not if you're the writer. Like the guy who wrote that movie also directed and produced it. I looked at the credits.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just guessing, but you know that for certain.
No, I know that for certain. Yeah. I forget what his name was, but it was like the credits were the first half of the credits were all him.
I want to know how he conned people into like doing it.
Yeah, I do not know, but yeah. Like, I don't mind a bad movie that's bad because of, like, budgetary limitations. Like, Evil Dead is one of those ones, right? Sam Raimi went out there to make the horror movie that he wanted, and he tried the best to make it. Yes, the special effects don't necessarily hold up, and now it seems a little campy.
I love practical effects.
But at the time, it was great, right? And so I can respect that. But
like Kevin Smith with Clerks.
Kevin Smith with Clerks was amazing. I mean, he didn't have to do much.
He sold his fucking comics, maxed out his credit cards. He fucking made that.
He fucking made it.
And it worked.
And Clerks is just a well-written movie.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, the set is minimal. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it's, you can see that. But this one, man, was just, I don't know. How do you get that many people to agree to it?
I don't know.
That's fucking crazy. Anyway. All right. Well, that does it for Nerdy Confessions. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. And we are going to be talking about Gunpla, or Gundam models. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Last week's episode, you know who our sponsor was?
Who?
Fucking Xbox.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool, isn't it?
We don't own one.
Yeah, we don't own one. Xbox, send us one, please.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, we only need one. I mean, we'll split it. I'll get it on the weekend and Cushion gets it during the week or something. We'll have joint custody. But, yes, so part of our Patreon is for I think it's a $10 a month tier. You can actually suggest episodes for the podcast. And this is going to be our first time kind of doing this. So this was suggested by your brother, David.
Yes.
Who is one of our patrons. So thank you, David, for supporting the show. Now, David was very interested in Gunpla. Gunpla is what it's called. And what Gunpla is it's the models for Gundams. Gundams being the Japanese robots kind of thing.
If you don't know, just kind of think Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim is like 100% based off of Japanese robot mech, category of films kind of thing. And so we delved in deep. Like, we won't do this necessarily for every episode suggested by patrons, but we're like, you know what? We should do a deep dive into it. So we actually bought Gundam models. We each got one, and we built them. Mine's almost done. I still have to do the wings on it and the weapons, but the main robot itself is done.
I finished mine.
Christian finished his today.
I didn't think I was going to. I will be fucking honest. What did we get him, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
As soon as I got mine, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to get started because I know Cody's going to finish it super fast. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get the first off, the instructions were in Japanese.
Yeah, all the instructions are in Japanese. So first of all, if you're thinking about getting into Gunpla, be ready for that. So it's just pictures primarily. Kind of like an IKEA thing,
Only this is way more fucking complicated.
Yeah, it's way smaller.
Yeah. And so I cut the first pieces off and they didn't fit. I'm like, I'm looking at the instructions. I'm doing it the way it fucking says. It didn't fit. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to bring it to Cody because he does things like this. This is my first time doing something like this because he makes the minis. Mm-hmm. This fucker did it in like 2 seconds. And I was so pissed. Apparently, I had missed a clipping. So, yeah. Or what would you call it?
We call it flash in minis. I forget what they call it, like a nib or something like that.
So I missed that. This guy fucking did it with his nail, and then they're 2 tiny little pieces, and I don't know how with his bear claws he just went bloop and did it. And I was like, you know what? If he can fucking do it, I'm gonna do it. And it was giving me anxiety.
Yeah,
trying to do this. But as soon as I got one piece to click, I got excited. I'm like, oh shit, I fucking did it.
Yeah.
And I just worked at it. I finally finished it today, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty satisfied. He's a little crooked, and apparently I have spare parts, so maybe he's not all the way completed. Yeah. But I might have a new fucking addiction. Thank you, David.
Yeah. So Gunpla, like the definition, or the reason why it's called Gunpla and not, Gundam models, is Gunpla is like it's a portmanteau, which is I don't even remember the exact definition of that, but I think it's where you mash words together.
Okay. Like
Spanglish, I think is a portmanteau. But it's a Gundam plastic model, so Gunpla.
Gunpla Mo.
Gunpla. Yeah, they don't call it Gunpla Mo.
They should have.
They should have, but it doesn't roll off the tongue. Basically, it started back in Japan in the 1980s, but it really spread in the 1990s through North America and Europe. And that's kind of when we first got the Mobile Suit Gundam, anime. The Gundam series I watched the most of was Gundam Wing, which I recently restarted watching it. Definitely, it's one of those animes that hasn't aged particularly well. I mean, it's fine, but it's just like I remember it being so sick when I was younger, and I'm rewatching. I'm like, man, this is kind of boring.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I haven't gone back to watch Transformers, but I don't know if if it's the same thing.
It's one of those things. I think it really picks up later when all the fucking suits start fighting each other, and then they get the tall geese. Tall geese was always one of my favorite ones. So I got the. Do you remember what your
I can get the box.
The name of yours was? So with Gunpla, there's multiple different models or qualities, I should say. So Christian's one that he got, which I'll show you up on the YouTubes, is a high grade or HG grade model, which is actually one of the lower grade ones. And okay, so he got the Zero Gundam Type ACD1. I think that might be from Mobile Suit Gundam, if I'm not mistaken. That might be one of the really early ones.
Amazon was very misleading. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, this thing's going to be fucking huge. I'm excited. Yeah. That way, I'm not used to working small. It's fucking, you'll see the size reference later, but it's not big.
Yeah, it's not great. We'll put something in for scale. Not compared to like some of Rick's Transformers that we have over here to our other side, which you can kind of see him off to the side there in this shot. And then I got the Gundam Wing, I think is his official name. He's like the main one from the Gundam Wing series, though his wings are incomplete.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got no wings.
Yeah, I know they're half built. It's like, and I'll get more into the building process in a second. But and then I got the master grade, which is kind of like, honestly, I guess it's like kind of the middle, middle high end. It's like one or two below the perfect grade, which is the absolute, like, those are the big ass ones that have a zillion pieces and come out like fucking ultra opposable.
When we show pictures later, you'll see that Cody's looks amazing, like, because it looks like he's weathered. He's seen some shit, but he painted it. It didn't come that way.
That's true. Yeah, so let's talk about the building experience.
Stressful.
Stressful.
It was stressful in the beginning. Middle towards the end, it started to become satisfying. But I was telling Cody off, before recording, I had to undo certain parts because I thought I'd ran out of a piece, and my dumbass didn't look to the side of it. So mine was marked. It came in sheets, so it was sheet A,
rails.
Rail A, rail B, and then rail PC. And then on the PC part, I was like, okay, they're numbered 1 through 6, and I was like, oh, I'm out of 5s. I'm like, fuck. Like, I must have lost it by accident because some of them were really frail. Like, they fall off super easy.
Well, you notice that those PC ones, that they're lubricated.
Are they?
Well, it's not like they're greasy, but the plastic itself is a different kind of plastic that is designed for joints.
Yeah. I noticed that all those
very slick feeling.
Yeah, it turns out it was on another side. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
So I had to undo the arm because I couldn't get the hand in. And that took me fucking forever because once you click them, some of them are
very hard to unclick.
Yeah. So I was like trying to look for tools. I'm like, I was about to bite. I'm like, no, I'm going to bend the plastic. Then I got tweezers and I just had to, wiggle it, and I finally got it out. And I was able to do it. The other issue I ran into was with one of the knees. It was bending the other way. So it was like weird fucking
ACL was all out of whack.
And
he'll fucking never play again.
Yeah, never.
NFL career's over.
And the instructions weren't that clear on how getting it right. Sometimes, like, it tells you to put it in a certain way, and it fucking lies. It's supposed to go the other way.
Oh,
like,
weird.
some things were misleading, and I had to play around with it, and I finally got it.
Yeah.
These little...
It'd be funny if in Japanese it says, do the opposite of this. You're like, you son of a bitch.
No, I'm not going to lie. I fucking downloaded Google Translate.
Yeah.
And... it helped with nothing.
Yeah, so it's weird. I tried that too with the camera. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this does. It's like, oh, fuck.
All it says is like...
why does it say beans over and over again?
All it would say was like, ACG series this. I'm like, well, that's not instructions. I'm like, nope. So it doesn't fucking matter translating or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I probably had a little bit easier time building it just because I'm used to now building, Games Workshop's models, like from Warhammer and the Age of Sigmar. Or I should say Warhammer 40K and Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So I definitely had probably an easier time building it. But what I kind of ran into problems was because I was like, I set out, I wanted to paint this, right? I'm like, it'll be cool. It's like a big giant miniature. But one thing I ran into problems is that trying to, both assemble and paint and deciding when to do which step.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, on his shoulders, you can see he's got blue shoulders with a white inlay on them.
Mm-hmm.
But those are two separate pieces. So what I should have done is I should have just painted the white one first, painted the blue one first, and I could have just airbrushed each one separately.
Yeah.
And then snapped them together. But I didn't.
You did it while they were connected?
Yeah, so I put them together, and I'm like, well, I don't want to fucking unsnap them now.
Yeah.
And so I did the whole thing and did it by hand, which sucks. And
You could have tried to, I mean, it would have been more work, but tape off, you know.
I know. I did that on some of the things. Like on his legs. His legs, I actually used blue painter's tape to mask off the joints. And so I could spray the white legs and get them primed and then sprayed.
Yeah.
My whole plan was to use the airbrush a lot on this one because that was kind of new. But a couple things I found out. First of all, if you're going to do that, I think probably the best way to do it, and I've since seen some YouTubers and people who do this, professionally or whatever.
If I may interrupt, because you said YouTube, I actually looked up YouTube tutorials.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, I've watched a few of them. These guys all have long nails. Why don't they clip their nails? I thought it was fucking weird that all of them.
It's for all the cocaine they need to do these things.
Something. I don't know. They all had like long nails. Another thing, they didn't follow the fucking instructions. They started like.
They just knew.
They just fucking started clicking shit together. Like,
oh my God.
You're supposed to start off with the torso. Mm-hmm. These guys are starting off with the gun, the sword, the shield, and all of that is last. I'm like, okay, this isn't helping me at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck this, and I
That's
just
weird.
went back to the instructions.
One thing I did learn from that is that what a lot of these guys do when they're painting them is they will literally snap out all of the pieces out of the rails and put them on like there's these things you can get for painting miniatures and stuff where they're like little alligator clips or stick like shish kebab sticks.
Okay.
Where you can put pieces stuck to them with like blue sticky tack. And they put like a million of them. So all the pieces are laid out on like stuck into a piece of foam. And then they go and do like a big batch paint of everything.
I would lose track of what they
right. So that maybe they have some way of doing that. Like maybe they label each one, which sounds like a fucking pain in the ass. But I will say for painting, that would probably be easier because then you could just spray them all at once, then varnish them all at once to give them some protection. Because that was another thing. I painted them and then trying to snap them together. Sometimes it's they snap in, just click perfect, no problem. Other times you got to force them a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to really push down on them. And so when you do airbrush, they give you really thin layers of paint. So you have to build it up over time. But those layers of paint can be very delicate. So there's a couple times where I press down and I would actually scrape off some of the paint. And then I would have to go back and do it. And then you have texture. It's a fucking fiasco.
Yeah, you got the thumbprints because of...
Right. And then not only that, but some pieces are so tight together that adding layers of paint to them makes it so they don't stick together as good.
Yeah.
Because there's now added thickness.
I am amazed, like, when I saw the pieces and I was like, oh, this is going to be a stiff thing. And it's not. A lot of the joints move pretty. Even the head will move a lot. I was pretty impressed.
And I think that's because they do include those one plastic pieces that are like, it's like a lubricated plastic or something that has like graphite or something infused in it.
I was shocked, like, oh shit, bend this and move the arm and like even the feet.
They're very opposable. Mine actually transforms into an airplane.
What?
Yeah, that was part of his. That was like his special move. He would turn into a jet and fly around.
So you're gonna have to do that on camera.
I will have to do that on camera eventually. So I got to finish those wings. And so painting yellow fucking sucks. Yellow and white both suck for that matter, because any little mistake or any little like blue or red that you get on the other one, you fucking see it forever. It's fucking. And then like painting blue and then painting yellow, if you got to like swap out your rinse water, because otherwise it turns out into a greenish yellow.
Yeah.
It was a fucking pain in the ass. So what I decided to do to make it look cool still was I decided to weather it. So I wanted him to be like battle hardened, like he's been fighting wars for a long time. So after I got everything painted, I went over and I sprayed AK Interactive's Streaking Grime Enamel weathering wash over it. So I threw it through the airbrush, and just sprayed the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And what's cool about enamel wash,
Oh, so on the whites and the blue, you just did that all in one spray?
I did it all. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool, because I thought it was
the weathering is all done in one step, basically.
Oh.
So what you do is you spray it over this with this cruddy looking. It looks like gutter water. It's like
yeah.
gross looking. And then you let it dry for a couple of hours, or not even a couple of hours, like 30 minutes or something like that. So it dries. And then you take a little bit of mineral spirits, which if you're into art, you use for using oil paints and things like that, or enamel paints in this case. And you put it on a Q-tip and you just rub away where you don't want the weathering.
I'm less impressed by it now.
Yeah, but it's fun because you can see, like, it looks fucking good and grimy.
No, it looks great. I was like, damn,
know?
Cody did a lot of hard work. Turns out, he just fucking cheated.
It was, it was still a little bit of work, but it's very toxic. Definitely lost some brain cells doing it. But I ordered one of those respirator masks for the next time I use enamels. But yeah, you just rub away with the Q-tip where you don't want it, and you stay away from the recesses and stuff. And that's how you get this deep, grimy look. And then all the little panels and stuff are like lined and stuff. I did get panel liner too, which is this black enamel paint with a very fine brush where you just dab it into where the lines are, and it just like through I forget what they call it, the like wicking action, it fucking fills up the lines and makes them black. So I got some of that stuff too to try out, and did that on a couple spots. But one thing I learned is that when you're assembling these things, and it probably gets better the more you do, really knowing where each part is going to end up. Like some of these things, I'm like, I don't know what this is going to fucking do.
There was definitely a lot of parts where, like, I don't know where
He's got these fucking yellow hooks on his arms that stick out of his arms. I'm like, what are these for? But so like when you're building it, unless you know exactly where they are, you don't really necessarily want to like glue things together, because that's that's hard to break apart.
Yeah. So when I show images, or when you guys see pictures, there actually is on his forehead one little piece missing, little red thing that Cody attached for a second, and I was like, "Fuck that! I can't believe he got it," and then it fell off too, and I was like, "All right, it's not."
Yeah. So certain parts, and as I got through it more and more, like I started figuring stuff out where I'm like, okay, I could throw a little super glue or a little plastic cement on this. And one thing I'll say is if you want to really panel line your Gunpla model, which basically means, if say he has a thigh, right? The thigh of the robot, it's not just one piece. There's panels, like as if, some normal human sized people put these giant panels together and welded them together, right? So there's little lines and cracks throughout that are just, empty space. And so to do a really good panel lining, you have to use plastic cement where it actually melts those together a little bit, but leaves that crease. And then you can drop the panel liner paint in there, and it'll blacken it up. And
so you're telling me you didn't get like a little blowtorch and it was like...
I didn't, no, yeah. And it's discouraging once you put together this piece that took you half an hour to put together, then feeling like, I should have glued this.
See, I don't think I'll ever glue anything because, like I said, there was twice that I made mistakes and I had to fucking go back. So if I had glued it, I would have been fucked.
You would have been fucked, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think as you kind of get more comfortable with it, and that's one thing we should say is that you don't have to go as crazy as I did with all the painting and weathering and gluing and all that stuff. These models are designed, all of them, as far as I know, almost all of them are designed to be snapped together. So no glue necessary. And they all the plastic on the rails, which are the sheets of plastic, are all pre-colored.
Yes.
So, it comes with blue, it comes with red, whatever colors you need for that model, it comes pre-made that color. Now, when it's plastic, obviously you do get shiny white plastic like Christian's, right? And that's how mine looked, and I wanted it to be more of a matted color, like it was aircraft color, like aircraft paint. So that's why I kind of weathered mine down. I used really flat paints on it. So I would say if you're trying to get into this hobby, first and foremost,
no caffeine. You can't have fucking shaky hands.
Shaky hands. I would say don't paint your first one. Just build it. See how you enjoy the building process, and get that under your belt first.
Yeah, don't buy an expensive one because if you're gonna fuck up, at least it's a cheapo one.
So let's talk about cost. If you're looking to get into the Gundam hobby, there are certain costs associated with it. So
I think mine was like $30.
Yours was like $30, right?
Yeah.
And that's a high grade one. So which high grade is the lowest grade, but it's, they're not going to tell you it sucks.
I purposely, I saw some cool ones that were like $75. I'm
Sure.
like, oh, that actually looks dope. I was like, nope, this is my first one.
Yeah, and I think that's the right call. I think, it's, you get the feel for it, and now like, oh, you know what? It would be cool to have one that has a little bit more higher quality plastic, or, better moving parts, or, is bigger,
Yeah.
So I got the master grade one, which is a little bit taller. I don't know. What would you say that is? Like 8 inches tall?
Yeah, no.
7 inches?
Seven, between 7 and 8.
Hold on, let me get hard real quick.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out real quick.
Well, then we could take from the difference of what's missing.
Yeah, what's missing? Yeah. Oh, that's like 3 of my dicks.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so but mine wasn't too expensive. It was like $55 or something like that. So the models themselves aren't too crazy. Now, once you get into perfect grade, you are getting into the $200 range, $300 range, depending on like how limited of edition it is, how desirable it is, and how big it is, that sort of thing. Because they do come in different scales too. And then like you do need some bare minimum tools. Like definitely recommend having a hobby knife or X-Acto knife.
Yeah. Which, looking at mine, is fucking bothering the shit out of me on these feet.
You see the little nubs?
Yeah, it's fucking bothering me.
The tip of the sword, I can see.
Yeah, it's fucking bothering the shit out of me.
So hobby knife first and foremost, and then a pair of flat-sided clippers I think would help out too.
I use toenail clippers, not gonna lie.
Okay. You can use that if you're
heathen.
Yeah, it would work. But yeah, you can get those little clippers for like $3 on Amazon, or at the hardware store they're probably $6. X-Acto knife, again, like $3 or $4 realistically. You don't have to get a fancy one. And what's cool is like, okay, you clip them out of the rails, and then you take the X-Acto knife and you can slice off any of the little nubs.
Which I was seeing, it's bothering me.
Right, exactly. We'll take a close-up shot of some of the nubs. And then once you slice off the nubs, any mold lines or anything else, you can take the X-Acto knife perpendicular and just scrape it a little bit, and it'll really smooth things out.
Although it doesn't say in the instructions to use tweezers, I started using them for certain little circular parts, and
for that size, I probably would. Yeah.
It helped a lot because I was like, my stupid fingers wouldn't get it, and then with the tweezers, it would just easily drop it in there.
Yeah, and then I would say, have a tube of super glue handy. There's certain pieces where even after you build it, you realize like, okay, this is probably like, it's probably safe to glue. You don't want to glue any of the moving parts that are supposed to like flex and move. But having some super glue for certain things, like for one thing, his fucking hands fall off all the time. And I think part of the reason is because he can have multiple. He can have like a fist or an open hand or like a fucking fuck you finger.
Nice.
So there's multiple hand options, but I think I'm going to figure out which one I want on there permanently
if you
and
super
glue
glue those, you're not going to be able to get the twist the wrist.
No, because his fingers are one piece, and his palm and thumb are the other piece.
Oh, got it.
And the fingers always fall off.
Okay.
So he's just like a fucking thumbs up all the time. So I think that super glue, X-Acto knife, and flat-sided clippers, I think if you get those 3 things, you'll have a good time. You don't have plastic glue would probably be a little bit better even, though you don't want to use that on everything, and it doesn't work on things like metal or even certain types of plastic. But plastic glue or plastic cement, they call it sometimes, actually fuses 2 pieces of plastic together, so it's much stronger. So if you get those things, you should be able to build a Gunpla no problem. So I'd say all said and done, if you wanted a master grade like the one I got, call it $60. You could probably get yourself up and running.
Yeah, I would say I'd recommend start with the small one because now now doing that tiny one, I would feel way more comfortable doing that because the pieces are bigger.
And I think that's how it's designed to go. Is you start small, work your way up to the fucking giganto ones.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to do one of each, right? You don't have to go from the high grade to the master grade to the perfect grade, but you could do like, say you do a high grade and you're like, okay, well I think I can handle master grade. And so you do a master grade. And you're like, okay, I think I got this. You don't have to move on, directly. You can say, okay, let me do another master grade, but maybe this time, maybe I'll add some paint to it, or I'll make sure I put all the decals on it. Right? Did yours come with like sticker decals and stuff?
Yeah, I only put it on one piece, which you can't see.
Okay.
And then the other parts, the instructions didn't really tell me where to put them, so now I have 2 little tiny stickers.
Yeah, I think it's like you can. It's for flavor. You can put them wherever.
Yeah.
I didn't put them on because I wanted it to be like weathered and gross. And also the decals look thick. They didn't look like water transfers, which are nice and thin. Yeah, I think you can you can get into the hobby for cheap and then gradually build your way up. So like I said, first one, just build it. Follow the instructions, build it. Now you have a cool robot that you can pose and whatever.
Recommendation: be patient.
Mm-hmm.
No caffeine. Allow yourself breaks. Sometimes you get real fucking frustrated.
Yeah, like I definitely did not sit down and do this thing all in one go. Like that's insanity. Though I'm sure there are people out there who once you get good enough, you can probably really get into it and I do get a little zen when I'm building stuff.
I had to put on first I had
some Enya in the background.
I had to put some fucking symphony, and then I actually put film soundtracks in that, so I was getting Star Wars stuff, and I was like, oh man, it kind of went with the project, and it was going a little bit smoother. So
yeah, that's definitely cool. I think it does get relaxing when you get into a little bit of a rhythm and stuff, though. And when you're getting tired of it, don't force yourself to keep going. No one's holding you accountable for this. Just stop for a while and come back to it when you're ready. And then after you build, say a master grade one, maybe build and panel line. That would be the next thing. The panel liner stuff is you can get it from Tamiya. I think they're one of the most popular ones. So it's an enamel paint, so it's super fumey. So do it in a well-ventilated area or outside is even better. What you do is you just dab this brush into the little lines, and you'll see the enamel paint just zips into the little crevices.
Sounds pretty cool.
Really, it is pretty cool. It uses capillary action. That's the word I was thinking of before. And then obviously you're gonna have a little overflow here and there, but after it dries for a while, again you take a little bit of that white spirit on a Q-tip and just go right over the top, and it leaves it down in the recesses of it, and it leaves you a nice dark line.
Nice.
So that's one way to spice it up a little bit. Then after that, then you can go start, really painting and stuff like that. Hand painting is going to be a bitch. I'll let you know right now, because I did hand paint certain parts of that. Airbrush is definitely, it's a big investment and there's a big learning curve to it, but it's definitely going to make certain things easy.
I can't believe those guys that you said put it on those little shish kebab things and do it all. It makes sense because you're probably saving time in paint. Yeah. But to know which piece is which.
I think maybe once you start getting really good at it, you could maybe you're like, oh, this is going to be unseen and invisible. So you can just go in and write in Sharpie P75 or whatever.
Yeah,
but still, what you could do is you could do that, label all your shish kebabs, right? And tack them on there. Rather than getting an airbrush, just get the main paint colors that you need. You do need a primer. And most of these I would recommend a white primer because there's a lot of bright colors. Doing it over a dark gray or black might be a little rough. But get a primer that's safe on plastics, and then get regular spray paint in the colors that you want. So for this guy, I would need a white one, a blue one, and a red one. I think that's really it. And then you can tape off with painter's tape the gunmetal stuff if you want, right? And so if you did that, you wouldn't have to get an airbrush. Yes, it's what's a can of spray paint now, Buck? It's
I've never bought one, to be honest.
$9. Come on, you didn't do some graffitos when you were younger?
No.
But yeah, you can get into it, and maybe $20. And I mean, a lot of them, obviously, if you look at Christian's, also has blue and red and yellow. So I mean, those are some classic Gundam colors. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you can very easily get some mileage if you want to do spray paints, and that's a lot easier than airbrush. Not as much control, obviously, if you're trying to do any blending or whatever. And then from there, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want. Try some weathering. That was honestly the most fun.
It's what makes yours look a lot fucking cooler.
Yeah, I think it's. And one thing I'm going to do is when I build the wings, because the wings are mostly white, I'm going to try the weathering stuff just directly on top of it.
Oh, without
without redoing a white paint, because I think it mats down enough where it might not make a difference.
Well, let us know how it goes.
We'll see. We'll see if I actually end up doing that. I might just paint it and be a martyr and fucking do it. Yeah, try some weathering out. Like the Tamiya stuff is, or not Tamiya, AK Interactive. They have all sorts of cool weathering effects. You can find them at your local hobby store or, of course, on Amazon. But, of course, support your local hobby store if you can. If you're in the Bay Area, the Game Castle is where I get all of my stuff.
Is that a Divisadero?
No, that's I don't remember what that's called. But no, Game Castle, there's one in Redwood City. There's one in San Jose, Fremont, and Santa Clara.
Shout out to Game Castle. Give us free shit.
Yeah, I love Game Castle. I go there and get all my stuff. And yeah, AK Interactive has great weathering stuff. This is called Streaking Grime. And I will say it's a little tense when you decide to do it. Because I have this nicely painted blue, white, and yellow, like bright blue, white, and yellow model that I've spent so much time painting, building, getting just right. And then you just spray it with just shitty watercolor. It turns out so brown, but then you're like, no. One thing I will say, if you're going to do the weathering, I do recommend hitting with a gloss varnish first. It helps the streaking grime flow better into the recesses and stuff.
Like so you want it to like drip and stuff.
Right. And you want it to move around. You don't want it to just hit there and just stick. So you hit it with a gloss varnish. Plus, it protects your coat underneath. Because sometimes, when you're rubbing off with a Q-tip, you're putting a little force on it. You don't want to tear the paint. So gloss varnish will help protect it. And then once it's dry, the enamel itself is pretty protective, but you can hit it with another matte or gloss varnish depending on what kind of finish you want on it. I think I'm going to hit them with a matte varnish to dull it down even a little more. I don't like shine on anything.
Yeah, mine's pretty shiny.
Yeah.
No, because mine definitely looks like plastic, where yours you could almost get the illusion of metal.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's got that like aircraft paint, is the best way I can describe it, or boat paint, where it's got that matte satin finish to it. And a lot of that comes from the enamel wash that's put over the top because it was glossy because I varnished the shit out of it. But the paints I used were very matte as well. But yeah, it's very fun. I think I don't know when I'll do another one because like
you have so many Warhammers to make. Yeah,
the whole time I was doing it, I'm like, God, it takes a long time, but you do feel very accomplished when you're done with it. But yeah, the whole time I really missed like the intricate parts of painting an actual miniature because, even though I was spending time painting this and putting it together and whatever, most of the time was on the assembly.
Yeah, for sure.
And less time was on the painting. And I didn't do any shading or highlights or anything like that. And that's really my favorite part of painting.
What I was going to say is like in some of your models, you have the cool, like where it looks like lava is flowing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe you could put it somewhere on there, but there really is. Or the green stuff you had where it looks like it's glowing. I was like, there's not a lot of places you can put that on.
Yeah, I put a little bit, you can't really see it, but I put a little bit of the glowy green stuff for his eyes and for his little chest beacon. But, it came out okay. But yeah, I really like the highlighting and like, really blending colors and stuff like that. And like, fuck doing that on a model that big. Like that would be such a pain in the ass. And because it's so angular, I think it would be kind of tough, but I'm sure there's guys out there who do it. So, but yeah, let us know, guys. Have you ever built any Gundam models? Let's see some pictures of them. Send them to us on Instagram or Facebook or TikToks or whatever.
Put mine to shame,
Yeah, exactly. We'll put ours up there and send us yours. We'll show you ours and you show us yours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, it's not as daunting of a hobby to get into, I think.
It starts, at least for me, it started daunting.
It might feel like it, right?
If you've never done any, because Cody's made minis. For me, it was something new. It was difficult. Gave me a little bit of anxiety in the beginning, but then halfway towards the end, I started enjoying myself.
Yeah, I think, watch YouTube. There's plenty of channels out there.
Doesn't help. Not for this.
Yeah, and hey, maybe we'll make a beginning Gundam building model video. But there are resources out there. Find them. It's not all great information. That's one of the problems with YouTube is it's not, no one verifies that this guy knows what he's talking about, right? But you can find tips and tricks here and there on how to build stuff.
I'll
how
make
to
sure and
glue
have
things.
my nails nice and short before I start, so people don't have to look at
Yeah.
gross long nails.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're a YouTuber who builds things up close, trim your fucking nails
Yeah.
and clean them. Okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah. How many Coke nails do you have to see while like painting?
Yeah, it's
painting? Like, God damn it. But yeah, I will say I had fun. I'm glad it's done. It was, well,
It's not done.
I
Need the
know
wings.
it's not done. I know. Yeah, the wings, his sword, and his shield, I think. Or maybe he has a gun and a shield. Or both. I don't know.
Mine came with both.
Yeah.
Gun, shield, sword.
I still have to build those. So I will take pictures of that once I'm done with it. But I'm happy with how he came out, the main body part. I definitely learned a lot, like from the beginning of doing it towards the end of it. By the end, by the end of building the whole body, I'm like fucking snap them together hella quick. I'm sitting in my gaming chair with just like plastic shavings all over me because
I had it on my computer
I'm just
table.
like scraping and scraping.
And it was driving me nuts. I kept it. All right, I'm throw this away because I don't want it on the fucking floor.
It's good to have a nice like hobby area if you're going to get into it. But yeah, I think
and you don't need a lot of space. I was very surprised. Like I didn't. I had a very small computer table. I didn't even take up much of the space.
Yeah, you don't really need a lot of room. Really, it is nice. I've seen some of those YouTube guys like they get one of those like mail organizer things, and they'll put the sheets of plastic, the rails of plastic in it for A, B, C, D, E, so you can just grab them real quick. Because half the time I'm like, okay, fucking, where's H? Fuck. Oh, here's A. Okay, But after a while, I kind of got into that too. So
mine only came with 4, so it was easy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had A through G, and then that P one.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
I could imagine it getting annoying.
so many, and there's 2 of some of them. There's like 2 B's and 2 G's, I think.
Here's a G1, B2. Like, yeah, I can imagine being
Oh
annoying.
my God, there's so much. But yeah, let us know. Are you guys into Gundam? Do you have any interest in painting one of these models? Let us know. And if you need any help, we've at least built one each, so you can reach out and ask us.
If you ask me, they're like, "Hey, what do you do then?" I don't know. Fuck if I know. Shit's
I
hard.
don't know. Find someone on Fiverr to do it for you. But and thank you, David, for not only suggesting this topic, but being one of our lovely patrons. We appreciate you.
I'm wondering if he even builds them.
I don't know if he has built any yet. I know he's bought a couple.
We were the guinea pigs. Like,
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if I want to do this. Let's see if these guys can do it. But yeah, thanks for suggesting the episode. I think it was really interesting. I learned a lot about how different this is from building minis, and it really is. It's its own thing. I definitely took certain skills from mini painting, but it is a different animal for sure. Like if I was to start over again, I would do a lot of things differently. But I wouldn't have learned that without giving it a shot. So very fun. If you want to suggest an episode for Nerds with Friends, you can check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends and become one of our fine patrons. And then you can follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitters. You can find all that information at nerdswithfriendspodcast.com. Christian, thank you for going through this with me, and thank you
stressing out.
And thank you for suggesting such a terrible
It was terrible.
movie.
If I had to do it, you had to do it.
That's true. And to all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you, and good night.